What's happening, people? And once again, welcome back to youtube.com/CubCamTV for this, another edition of Cub Talks Ball. We're getting back into our football conversation right about now, which I'm very, very excited to do. It was a jam-packed weekend of football, loads of interesting things being discussed. Obviously, the Casemiro VAR incident being quite an important one. But today, we are going to be getting into a discussion about something a little bit wider, something that could affect the Premier League as a whole. It could affect some of the biggest moments in Premier League history, and it could also change the landscape of football in the UK if certain things go a certain way. As always, if you are new to the channel and you're enjoying the content we're putting out, whether it be the reactionary stuff, whether it be the football related stuff, whether it be the DJ related bits we do as well, do make sure you are getting involved by hitting that subscribe button on the right hand side of the page. Of course, turning notifications on as well, leaving a like, leaving a comment, and all of that good stuff. I am very excited to get into this discussion. As you may have seen floating around the news today, in the world of sports journalism, there has been a big announcement, and we're going to get into it. We're going to take a look at the Express for today's article, as we see fans want Manchester City stripped of Premier League titles after being hit with over 100 charges. Now, anyone ever getting hit with over 100 charges is kind of crazy. Bear in mind, I'm a United fan, so this may come across slightly biased, but there is no denying the impact that Manchester City have had on the Premier League in regards to spending, in regards to the super squad they've been able to assemble. And it's not even necessarily the transfer fees they've been paying, it's the wages they've been able to hold and the amount of high-profile players they've actually been able to hold onto, giving them this incredible kind of squad depth that we haven't ever really seen before in the Prem. Maybe there was a period where United had it a few years ago, maybe the 2007-2008 sort of period. Maybe Chelsea in the sort of I suppose sort of 2014-2015 period, they had a ridiculous squad of players, topped off with loads of good youth players as well. But this is very interesting. Manchester City have been hit with over 100 charges by the Premier League. And basically, we're going to break down what this means and a couple of other potential things that could spawn off the back of this. So we are looking through this. Fans want Manchester City stripped of their 6 Premier League titles after the club has been hit with over 100 charges. Pep Guardiola's side have been accused of breaches in financial regulations following a 4-year investigation. Possible penalties include a points deduction or even being kicked out of the top flight. Now, there is no denying that Manchester City as a club, as an entity, as a footballing idea has completely changed the landscape in English football. The style of play, bear in mind, coming from Pep Guardiola, what he's done to the English game, what he has kind of implemented into it, there's no denying it's been a fantastic thing in regards to the improvement. The overall quality of the league has never been higher, and there's no denying that Manchester City, having the squad that they have, having the depth that they have, and also I feel kind of just having the vision that they've had as a club has improved that. There's no denying that. I don't think we ever can. But when you are looking at over 100 charges against FFP, despite the fact this has been a 4-year investigation, is absolutely crazy. I remember seeing on Twitter, I think earlier this morning, that they once claimed that they were making more in income than Real Madrid and Manchester United, despite the fact that Manchester City famously haven't got the biggest fan base in the world. There's a constant running theme on Twitter, especially about them not being able to fill the stadium. Now, how true that is, I don't know. I don't go to the Etihad, so I don't know how full it is. But there's no denying that the actual kind of global reach and global fan base is nowhere near the likes of Manchester United and Real Madrid, which are realistically the 2 biggest clubs in the world in regards to kind of notoriety, in regards to, I want to say, financial as well. The amount of money the clubs bring in through different avenues and kind of maneuvers. I don't think if you were actually going to compare them in regards to financial fair play, the City would be anywhere near. I've never thought they would be. So it's always been a bit of a surprise how they've been able to get away with it. But after a 4-year investigation, they have been found to have broken over 100 regulations, therefore picking up over 100 charges. On Monday, the Premier League released a statement confirming that they were looking into a number of alleged breaches of their rules by Manchester City, and should the charges be proven, then the reigning champions will face a number of sanctions. City could even be kicked out of the Premier League or face a points deduction, which would be a hammer blow to their hopes of retaining the title. An independent disciplinary commission will now deal with the charges, with the hearing set to be held in private. The charges over financial reporting relate to 9 seasons from the 2009-2010 campaign through to the 27-28 campaign. So this is a long period of time we're talking about here. City won 3 league titles during that time, and they've proceeded to win an additional 3 in the years since. But this is where it gets very interesting. There's a couple of bits of this I do actually want to kind of break down. First of all, if this was to be a case where City were stripped of the titles due to these regulations, there's a lot that changes. The dominance that City have had over English football is suddenly split in half. They lose half of the titles they've been able to gain over the last decade. Now, as a United fan, I won't lie. The idea of that makes me happy because it means just the landscape changes and the entire history of the UK of the UK League just gets completely rewritten. It means the Aguero moment would become invalid. It means it wouldn't matter anymore. It means it would have never officially allowed them to win the title. So all kind of, I suppose, nostalgia that's based around that moment for a number of people who just follow Premier League football, who see it as the greatest moment in Premier League history. That moment just becomes inadequate. It just becomes pointless. It doesn't matter. So that's a big thing that could change off the back of this. The interesting thing is that Chelsea were hit with similar sanctions a number of years ago, but this was a period of time where they only had they weren't allowed to make any summer transfers, and that was what they got given. But despite the fact that the club was in that situation, they still had a squad of players that was able to kind of pick up the weight. They had a massive kind of influx of youth players coming into the first team as well, and we all know that Chelsea do have an incredible youth setup in regards of actually bringing players through. Not necessarily how the players are treated or like post that, but we know the actual quality coming out of Chelsea's youth academy is absolutely outstanding. So I feel that's why they were actually able to maintain that. However, I saw a tweet earlier off a Manchester United account which did make me kind of buckle in astonishment, and this is it. It comes to us from Centre Devils, and it looks very interesting indeed. From this we see the hypothetical winners of the Premier League if Manchester City are stripped of their league titles. 11-12 Manchester United. It means the Aguero moment never happened. United were 1-0 up and they were going to win the league until that last second. It means 13-14 Liverpool do become champions. Again, very interesting seeing that one. The 17-18 season under Jose Mourinho, I believe it was, when we finished second. The famous quote from him being, of course, that that's one of his proudest achievements, doing it with, I think, Chris Smalling and Phil Jones as the centre-back pairing at the time. That suddenly becomes a case of, wow, Jose Mourinho may have won a Premier League title with Manchester United again. 18-19 under Liverpool again. Obviously, that was a very close season. 2020 to 2021, that season I think that was pretty much entirely damaged by COVID, where half the games were being played behind closed doors. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer finished second in that season, and the way that this could well go is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is handed a Premier League winners medal. Can you imagine the outrage that would happen if that was to happen? Can you imagine the amount of pundits that just never liked him? The amount of, I mean, there was a big kind of push towards, obviously, the United bias pundits saying, oh no, he's doing a good job. But the amount of kind of other kind of presenters and kind of football voices that were always very much on the side that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't good enough to do it. Imagine if after all of that, suddenly, due to City breaking the rules, allegedly breaking the rules at least, that they could end up seeing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with a Premier League winners medal. Absolutely crazy. And it also means Liverpool would have won the title last year as well. But what it does do, if this is to go through and they are to be stripped of their titles, and by the way, I don't actually think they will be. I don't think that's anywhere near going to happen. I think what's likely to happen is they'll get a points deduction this season, and there'll be a massive fine, but I don't actually think they are going to be stripped of their titles. I think it'd be an unprecedented move for the Premier League. As much as I would love to see it happen, because obviously I want 3 more titles under the United banner. I'm a United fan, that's why I'm wearing the shirt. But I just don't think that's going to happen. However, the landscape of how much everything could change is absolutely crazy. Again, the Aguero moment never happened. Jose Mourinho being a Premier League winner with United, that's a huge thing, given obviously the way that he was kind of ushered out of the club for playing a certain style of football. It means that season where he finished second, he could well have actually somehow managed to wangle himself a medal. But alongside this, it's the idea and the concept that maybe, obviously the sort of general comment is if you finish second, it's basically you're the first loser. That's the essential thing. It does mean obviously you qualify for European football. It also means that you are not having to kind of fight for anything if you are finishing second in regards to anything European. But there could be a case with so much money now being floated into football, with the amount of big buyouts, the amount of clubs that are being overtaken by international billionaires. How crazy would it be if suddenly second place meant that you were actually in for a shout? Because 5 years down the line, you never know who's going to get audited. You never know what's going to change in regards to the kind of landscape of football, or what rules may have been broken, or who might end up being investigated. It's actually quite a crazy concept that second place might now suddenly actually be a very, very big deal indeed. This would also change the layout, of course, about how many teams finishing second, third, fourth. This could change the entire layout. How many teams should have had Champions League football if City are going to be pushed down a place, or they're going to be taken out of the equation? Like, there's so many opportunities that would then change, which is the main reason I don't think they're going to be stripped of the titles, because it means there's so many other kind of inaccuracies that go along with it, primarily European qualification being one of them. So yeah, Very, very interesting stuff indeed. Really, really interesting stuff, and I'm very keen to hear your thoughts on this. So please do make sure you are getting involved down in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts on this as a potential scenario. How do we feel about whether City were to be kind of stripped of their titles? How mad would it be to see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with a Premier League winners medal? I think that would be one of the most ridiculous things ever. But let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comment section down below as well. If you're enjoying the football content, make sure you are getting involved by hitting that subscribe button on the right-hand side of the page. Of course, turning notifications on as well, leaving a like, leaving a comment, and all of that good stuff. And we shall see you all next time. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and peace.
Them sounding so good right now. But they're sounding a Brighton town.
Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel right now, Cam TV. Stay locked.